Deposit 10 shillings or more, enter your PIN and press OK, then choose 10 numbers from 1 to 80 and send to 29588. And you can win up to 30 million shillings every 4 minutes. Deposit, play, and win with Mega Dollar. Big game for big winners.
Ignacia, where did you say that box turned up?
On my bed? Why?
And you don't know. You didn't see who could have left it there?
No. Who cares about the box? You know what, Leonardo? I run out of patience. I can't take it anymore. Do you hear me? Listen to me well. I'm not going to sit around and contemplate. If that sounds like a threat to you, it is. I'm threatening you. I need to ask you for a favor. I need you to help me with Leonardo.
What happened to him?
This will sound very strange. I need you to keep an eye on him. Yolanda told me that she found mud on his shoes, Corolla. Mud.
Ignacia, that can't be.
SportPesa Super Cup has come to Kenya. Kenya's own Gor, AFC, Sharks, and Kakamega Homeboys are getting ready to take on Tanzania's finest, Simba, Yanga, Singida, and JKU. The champion will face one of EPL greats, Everton FC, at Goodison Park. Don't miss another moment of football history. SportPesa Super Cup from the 3rd to 10th of June.
Tonight, the national rugby team, that is the Shujaa team, has made the country proud by collecting a total of 7 points on the 9th and second last stop on the 10th legged IRB World Circuit in London after beating Wales 33-19. Congratulations to our brothers who've made us proud as a country. My name is Brenda Zederadido. We have a lot lined up for you, including the sports story later on with my colleague, and of course, being a Sunday, we have family matters later on with John Jacob Curia. My name is Brenda Zederadido. Let's have a look at the news highlights.
Haya mafuta yatakuwa baraka kwa wananchi wa Kenya na Afrika Mashariki. Itatuwezesha kupata utajiri katika kaunti yetu ya Turkana, katika Kenya na pia Afrika Mashariki.
Kenya's Black Gold, a new dawn as President Uhuru Kenyatta flags off transportation of the country's first crude oil for export. Tragedy in Huruma, 3 people killed and 4 others after a condemned residential building collapses.
Iba nguo za wamama za ndani. Aibu zile nguo za bei ghali. Sasa leo amepatikana.
And what a weird thief. Middle-aged man caught red-handed stealing female undergarments in Kajiado County. All right, these are some of the stories that we have for you tonight, and the sign language interpreter on the bottom right of your screen is Steve Ndunde. Steve, welcome to tonight's bulletin. Just to remind you that Family Matters topic tonight, it will be about youth empowerment, and my colleague John Jacob Curia will be talking to Ronnie Osumba, who's the chairperson of the Youth Enterprise Fund. Let's begin our conversation, interaction on our social media platform at JCuria, at KBC Channel 1, my Twitter handle at ZedaBrenda, and SMS line is 22 162. Let's continue with our conversation on the social media platform. All right, to begin tonight's bulletin with our top story, and that is the oil exploration in the country, where Kenya has now joined oil-producing countries in the world following the flagging off of the country's first crude oil for export. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta, who flagged off the transportation of the oil from Turkana County to the port of Mombasa, said Kenya will effectively manage the resource to avoid the negative results that have confronted many other nations following new discoveries. Now, the head of state said the negative competition for oil and other natural resources has seen peaceful countries go to war, brothers take up arms against each other, and mothers burying their children with no hope for the future, which Kenya must avoid. After 7 years of oil discovery in Turkana County by the Talo Oil, Kenya is now inching close to join the Petrol Dollar League. President Uhuru Kenyatta flagged off the first batch of trucks to ferry the oil from Turkana to the port of Mombasa, with a promise that Kenya will effectively manage the resources to avoid conflicts that have confronted many nations when they strike oil. While addressing a public rally at Lokichar, the head of state said Kenyans should draw lessons from other countries that failed to manage their resources and ended up with a suffering, hungry and poor citizenry.
Pia tajirani wetu tuwajua ya kwamba hawa pia wamebarikiwa na mafuta, na tukienda mbele ni nia yangu tuungane pamoja na wao kuhakikisha ya kwamba haya mafuta yatakuwa baraka kwa wananchi wa Kenya na Afrika Mashariki.
Na ukiona Mheshimiwa Rais mafuta imetoka, hii ni kumaanisha Waturkana wamekubaliana. Ile ambayo wanalenga saa hii wanalenga mbele.
He said the country should view the discovery of oil and gas as a blessing to boost its economy and benefit the future generation.
Lakini mambo haya yote yatakuwa ndoto kama hatutaweza kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeweka amani, na hata kama kutakuwa tabu, tusuluhishe hizo tabu kwa njia ya amani.
Mkaketi chini sisi wote tukiwa pale, na ikafikia mapatano ya kwamba ile mambo ya capping itaondolewa ili mambo ya oil iweze kwenda mbele.
Shida yetu kubwa kwa mafuta ni maneno ya capping. Tunakushukuru kwa sababu ulitoa capping kwa mafuta.
The president saying every Kenyan has a stake in the development of the oil and gas sector, and most importantly in safeguarding the country's resources. The president called on every Kenyan to ensure peace and stability in the region and to ensure that any disagreements that might arise from this resource are resolved in an amicable and sustainable manner.
Mafuta haya hatasaidia mtu yeyote ikibaki kule chini, kwa sababu sisi ambao tuwatakikana kubenefit kwa hiyo resource hatutaweza kutatua shida zetu.
Msituletee historia ati kuna watu samani viongozi walikuwa wanachochea, hiyo liisha in our time. We don't want to bring that testimony. Sisi tunataka kwenda mbele, na nitafanya kazi West Pokot na Nanok na Turkana tulete amani.
Deputy President William Ruto, who had accompanied the head of state, said the government had completed the construction of a technical and vocational training center in Turkana East, where youth will be trained in technology for the petroleum industry, urging locals to take advantage of the new institution so as to enable them secure employment in the new sector. Now, meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto is warning those seeking to contest for the Baringo South parliamentary seat that Jubilee Party has no preferred candidate. Ruto, who was in Marigat, said the party will hold its nomination and the person who emerges the winner will be the choice of Jubilee. Ruto spoke even as Charles Kamuren, who had contested the seat on a Kano ticket in the August 2017 election, coming second to the Jubilee Party. Now, the seat was left vacant following the death of Grace Kipchoim almost a month ago.
huyu Kamuren si mnajua alikuwa mahali ingine. Sasa huyu Kamuren pia ameamua atakuja kuungana na maendeleo katika chama ya Jubilee. Nakubaliana na nyinyi kuwa kiwanja ifunguliwe, raia waamue, si ndio? Kama deputy party leader wa Jubilee, sisi tunaamini uamuzi wa wananchi ndio uamuzi wa Mungu.
All right, now NASA leader Raila Odinga has vehemently denied claims he is silently orchestrating a cabinet reshuffle. Raila, in a statement, has termed the notion as malicious, retrogressive, diversionary, and merely meant to undermine the war on graft. Eric Begon reports.
Hardly any will deny Odinga has to a great extent altered his approach to politics ever since his infamous March 9th handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. He has since been keen to detach himself from any controversy. On Sunday, the ODM leader was fighting reports claiming his squad had schemed to have the cabinet reshuffled. The reports that were published in sections of the media indicated that President Kenyatta may be forced to sack some of the cabinet secretaries in connection to corruption. In effect, the reports claimed that a number of Odinga's allies will take up those positions. Through a statement, Raila has termed the reports as malicious, retrogressive and diversionary and merely meant to undermine the war on graft. Raila says he takes great exceptions to this attempt to use his name to provide refuge to the corrupt by implying that the crackdown on graft is merely an attempt by him to take his people into government. On Saturday, Odinga had also been forced to shed light on his stand on March talked about referendum, denying claims he was agitating for constitutional change. Even so, members of President Kenyatta's Jubilee Party are adamant that the former Prime Minister must henceforth stop demanding review of the Constitution.
Juzi tulikuwa na uchaguzi, tukafanya campaign, tukamaliza na tukachagua viongozi wetu. Sasa tukileta mambo ya referendum mwaka huu, kuna kazi tutafanya? Hata kama ni mambo ya referendum, iwe ni mwaka huu, iwe ni mwaka huo mwingine, it will derail us from our core agenda of transforming Kenya and changing people's lives. Let us focus on that.
Mambo kuhusu referendum, tumesema kama Jubilee tuweke kando. Hiyo tutayasemea kule mwaka wa 2022 na huko mbele. Kwa wale ambaye hawajui vile katiba saa hii inasema, kabla uchaguzi kuna kitu inaitwa pre-election agreement. Munakaa chini na wale munafikiria munaweza shinda pamoja, munagawana madaraka. Na hiyo ndio ile kitu iko kwa katiba saa hii. Hatuhitaji katiba mpya hata kidogo.
Saa hizi the president ameset agenda ya vitu 4. Those 4 agendas hatuwezi kufaulu kama tutarudi kwa siasa saa hii. I can assure you for free. So we must choose either we want development or we want politics.
Odinga's core principles in NASA are in the meantime calling for an all-inclusive approach to the Building Bridges initiative.
Hata ikiwa kuna ile team ya Building Bridges task force ambayo kwa gazetted, hiyo ni sawa, lakini tunataka genuine national dialogue ili Wakenya wote wahusishwe kwa yale ambayo yanatukumba na sisi wote tupate suluhisho tukiwa wa Kenya.
Yetu sasa amesalimiana, hata haongei mambo ya electoral justice. Mekushi. Na wahenga walisema, when a noisy dog keeps quiet, you know it's chewing a huge bone.
Ni vizuri tuwapatie the benefit of the doubt ndugu zetu, Mheshimiwa Rais Uhuru na ndugu yetu Raila Odinga. They started a trolley. And I know because of the way it was done, ilionekana ngumu wakati ule. Lakini sasa National Prayer Breakfast ikafanyika Alhamisi iliyopita, hii Alhamisi hii. Mimi mwenyewe niliona kwa runinga nikisema I wish my brothers Wetana and Mudavadi were there. Because maybe their language would be different.
Speaking at a church service in Athi River, the group led by Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi intimated that other members of the opposition are willing to support ongoing efforts to unite the country by the president and Raila as long as their issues are brought on board. Eric Biagon reporting for Channel 1 News.
Right now to good news, where the National Rugby Sevens team Shujaa collected a total of 8 points from the 9th and second last stop on the 10th legged IRB World Circuit in London after beating Wales 33-19 to lift the Challenge Trophy at Twickenham grounds in London. En route to the final, Shujaa ousted Spain 38-0 in the quarterfinals before thrashing Argentina 42-10 to book her final spot against Wales. Now, following the win, Shujaa, who lied 6th on the standings with 93 heading to London, will for the first time end the season beyond the 100-point mark with one leg to go. The Paris leg, the last round on the 2017-2018 season, will be held this weekend. After the conclusion of the 2017-2018 series, Shujaa will shift its focus to the forthcoming Sevens World Cup in July in the United States of America. All right, thank you so much, Shujaa, for making us proud. We're really proud as Kenyans right now, and wish you all the best as you prepare for another game that will be held in July. All right, now to a story that has been making headlines for the better part of yesterday and today, and that is the Huruma building, where 3 people have been confirmed dead after a 5-story building collapsed in Mathara's Huruma estate. 4 more people are receiving treatment in city hospitals following an incident that happened earlier Sunday. Now, the building had been spared demolition even after it was marked as condemned in 2016.
May 2016, 12 people dead in a single night of horror after a 7-story building collapsed in Huruma. Exactly 1 year and a month later, yet another building, this time a 5-story building, came tumbling down in the wee hours of the night. Eyewitnesses say the building had shown signs of caving in last evening, forcing most of the tenants to evacuate. But there are those who still went back to their rented houses, hanging on hopes. By 1:30 a.m. Sunday morning, the building came down, killing 3 and injuring 4 others.
Na mama aliokoa watu wanakaa kwa hiyo gorofa, akawaambia gorofa inaanguka, juu mchanga ilikuwa inaanguka kwake. Anaitwa Mama Teddy. Akawaambia gorofa inaanguka. Vile aliwaambia gorofa inaanguka, security wa huko chini wakakuja wakabang gate. Vile walibang gate, watu wa hiyo gorofa wakashuka wote. Mtu wa mwisho kushuka ndio sasa gorofa ili sink na chini.
The Kenya Red Cross and the multi-agency disaster rescue team responding almost immediately after an alert by residents. The team spent the better part of Sunday combing through the rubbles in a bid to rescue those who may have been trapped under.
Tuna imani kwamba huenda kukawa hakuna watu wengine ambao wameumia kwa hii janga.
12 hours later, the exercise was halted, satisfied that there would be no more people under the debris.
Some investigation is being conducted by the National Building Inspectorate, National Construction Authority, Nairobi County government. They are doing different investigations as per the nature of the building and what they may suspect that anyone must have committed as per the law.
The Nairobi County Government and the National Disaster Management Team announcing immediate evacuation of nearby buildings that they also considered structurally unsound.
Inspection is being done straight away to ensure that those buildings that the public feel that are unsafe, public are advised to vacate those buildings, and then decision has been made that some of them will be knocked down straight away while these machines are still on the ground.
That when you are advised to leave a building, it is for your safety and that of your family. It is not wise to then come back to a building that has been marked for demolition.
Each family will receive 50,000 shillings to help them look for rental houses in places considered safe. But with the collapse, the failure by government agencies to implement directives was clear. In 2016, the Nairobi County government announced that it would bring down all buildings considered unsafe in Huruma and the entire Nairobi, but so far only 9 have been demolished, leaving the other 14, including the one that collapsed.
Huruma seems to be a real big problem, worse than any other part of Nairobi, which is why we want to concentrate our efforts here.
Near the collapsed building is a primary school and a boarding secondary school privately owned, all operating under the danger of dangling buildings. Police are now hunting for the owner of a building who is said to have gone under.
These are the rubbles of what used to be a 5-story building that collapsed this morning, claiming 3 lives. The 3 lives becoming part of the statistics of collapsed buildings in Kenya, and particularly Nairobi and in Huruma, a place notorious for collapsing buildings. But again, a high indictment on government agencies, particularly the National Construction Authority and the county government of Nairobi, on why they didn't bring this building down 2 years after marking it as unsound for people to live in. John Jacob Curia, Channel 1 News.
Right, thank you, John Jacob Curia, for that report. Of course, we shall continue updating you as and when we get the latest details, because it is a developing story. Now we cross over to Garissa County, where police are now warning of criminal gang disguising as security officers and kidnapping locals. According to the administration, in the gang wearing hoods is said to be taking advantage of the ongoing war against terror to terrorize locals. The gang is said to be using vehicles bearing fake number plates and claiming to be police officers carrying out mop-ups on terror sympathizers.
A rampant increase of cases of disappearance of people in unclear circumstances has hit headlines in Liboi Dadab constituency.
Hii watu wanafunga kichwa, wanachukua vijana wetu, wanachukua wazee wetu, wakina mama wamekosa bwana zao, wamekosa watoto, wamekosa baba yao.
The latest is the kidnapping of a popular sheikh in the area who was picked by unknown people. Eyewitnesses claim before kidnapping of the sheikh, suspicious character was sighted in Liboi town, purporting to be working for an aid agency.
Wale watu walikuwa nashika watu mpaka hii ya hivi ya tarehe 26. Ile kitu wako pamoja, ile kitu common among them, kwamba ni watu wasiojulikana, ni watu hawajitambui hawa ni nani, ni watu wamefunga uso zao, ni watu wako na silaha.
Residents claim the hooded individuals have been going around the area purporting to be security officers on a mission to track down the Al-Shabaab terror gang. Locals say they are now confused on who to believe, as the gang is armed and using vehicles similar to those used by security officers in the area.
Na sisi tunaamini serikali hii haiwezi kutudhulumu, haiwezi kutudhulumu. Tunaamini hizi vitendo zinafanywa na watu wanataka kuhujumu serikali.
Kama mtu amefanya makosa, iko mbinu ya kufanya. Mtu anachukuliwa, anaandika ripoti, anapelekwa kotini. If he is found guilty, he is prosecuted. If he is innocent, awachiliwe.
Local leadership now wants the Inspector General of Police to carry out an audit on security officers in the area, as they might be colluding with criminal gangs to target unsuspecting locals for unknown reasons.
We are appealing to the government at the highest level, to His Excellency the President, to His Excellency the Deputy President, to the Minister for Interior and National Coordination. We are appealing to those officers to seriously address the lapses in the Liboi town.
But the administration in the area is dismissing the existence of such a group, claiming a gang could be taking advantage of the security operation in the area to single out some individuals for their own reasons.
It will be unfortunate for some people to come and pick somebody and just say, okay, we are special security team. Yet, the larger Dadaab Security Committee is not aware. So anybody could come and claim that he is a security officer, yet he could be a criminal.
Kuna system failure. Let me be very frank. System ile mainstream ya security imefail kazi yake. Haiwezi kuwa Watu wanakuja hapa, wanafanya maovu na wanaenda na hakuna mtu anasema anajua hawa.
The authorities are now calling on the residents to be on the lookout.
We suspect there could be people who are taking advantage of the situation, and these are no security officers.
Please do your assignment. Get us the real facts.
14 people have disappeared from Liboi, Dadaab sub-county since 2014, and their whereabouts remain unknown.
Now, meanwhile, the plight of a girl in the struggle to gain equity on education and employment dominated the Esiankiki night during the Nosim FM 7th anniversary celebrations at the Carnival Grounds in Nairobi. Leaders who spoke at the event challenged members of the Ma community to shun female circumcision and allow the girls pursue their dreams.
Pomp and fanfare characterized the 7th anniversary celebrations for Nosim FM station and affiliate of the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation at the Carnival Grounds in Nairobi. The annual event themed Esiankiki brings together the Ma community in celebration of their heritage, from narratives to fashion galore. The plight of a girl child dominating the event, with calls by leaders that the Maasai girl should be left to pursue her dream and break the cultural barriers.
Tutashirikiana kuangalia mambo ya wasichana na masomo kwa jumla kwa watoto wetu ili tuweze kuendelea mbele. Na bila unaleta culture ya Kimasai iweze kung'aa hapa mjini Nairobi, nataka pia yale masomo ambayo mmeweza kuyasoma mkiwa mjini Nairobi muyapeleke kule mishanani.
Leaders challenging the community to end the archaic practice of female genital mutilation and uphold the dignity of the Maasai girl.
Special recognition to our ladies who has championed this initiative.
Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1 Weekend.
All right, that story by Irene Muchimo-Odim takes us to a fast commercial break. Don't go away because we still have a lot lined up for you, including sports. And of course, later on, my colleague John Jacob Curia will be talking to us about youth empowerment. And of course, later on, we also have a feature story for you. That is the thorny flowers. What happened to some of the flower farm workers who are laid off? What is their future? Probably have they been compensated? All that later on during our bulletin.
Every 4 minutes is a chance for you to win big with Mega Dollar. Just go to Lipa na M-Pesa, enter paybill number 295888, account name KBC, and amount from 10 shillings or more. Then select your 10 numbers from 1 to 80 and send to 29588. You can win up to 30 million shillings. Start playing now and win. Mega Dollar. Big winners every 4 minutes. Everybody, Guanta!
Right, welcome back and thank you for keeping it Channel 1 NewsHour Weekend, and to continue with the bulletin, we head straight to Machakos County, where a man suspected of being a female undergarments thief was today caught in the act after he walked into a trap. In the dramatic incident at Ilbisil in Kajiado County, the middle-aged man narrowly escaped lynching after police officers arrived in the nick of time and arrested him.
The proverbial 40 days of a thief elapsed for this middle-aged man caught stealing female underwear from a clothesline. He had either run out of luck or maybe he had just become sloppy. An alleged repeat offender who always seemed to escape arrest, the thief had always left dozens of women perplexed as to the whereabouts of their undergarments, most of which disappear moments after being hung to dry.
Ukiangalia hiyo bra ingine inaundua mpaka matiti. Tukasema kama ni mwanamke hawezi kuchiundia matiti, si ni ukweli? Na kama ni mwanaume pengine anaweza chiundia matiti. Tukapata hiyo bra imeundua matiti. Ai, tukafungua hiyo nyumba mpika. Tumemwachilia tu, tukaita serikali ikakuja ikamchukua.
Akiiba nguo za wamama za ndani. Aibu zile nguo za bei ghali. Sasa leo amepatikana. Ndio amepelekwa ndani.
Sijui nani ananiibia. Nikaibiwa mara kadhaa. Nikianika manguo, sasa si lazima mtu mzima lazima utoke kutafutia watoto. Nikitoka nitakuta hizo nguo zimetiekwa zote.
The scene quickly unfolded and the culprit was frog-marched to his rented apartment by the angry women, where a treasure trove of underwear was discovered. It is the long arm of the law that came to the rescue of the hapless chap who escaped a lynching by the skin of his teeth. He was arrested and is expected to have his day in court on Monday, 4th June.
I lack words for that. Now, a family in Nairobi is appealing for financial assistance to cater for their father's medical bill, currently at 2 million shillings. Samuel Mataka Makau, a father of 4, was hit by a vehicle which then disappeared, leaving him for death along Kangundu Road.
Mataka Makau's family is appealing to well-wishers to help them raise medical funds for their father. Makau says he was involved in a hit-and-run incident along Kangundu Road. The father of 4 is currently admitted at the St. Peter's Rapha Hospital and needs 2 million shillings to cater for his medical bill.
Mguu niliweka chuma, hii ilikuwa dislocated, na kwa matako chini kulikuwa na kidonda. Na bado iko inaendelea na kupona.
We've been with Mr. Makau Samuel for the past 10 months. He came in a very bad state after the accident that had happened. He could not use both his lower limbs. He had fractures of both limbs and also the pelvic area, and also his rectal region was really injured. So he's been to theatre more than 10 times. He's gone in for colostomy. He's gone in for the IL nailing to repair the fractured bone on the right foot, for the pelvis repair also.
Mara ya mwisho ilikuwa 1.8 wakati tuliangaliwa bill, na sasa mpaka hiyo imeongezeka, na nafikiri it is almost 2 million.
Donation to assist Makau can be channeled through M-Pesa on his mobile number 0720830276. The number once again is 0720830276.
Now, the collapse of Katuture flour firm in Naivasha in 2016 was perhaps the biggest blow to the country's floriculture industry, leaving hundreds of families whose hopes hinged on the facility for a livelihood facing uncertain times. Now, the development was the beginning of aftershocks that saw other farms operating in the area either close shop or announce measures in a series of events that has left 6,000 people jobless over the last 2 years. Now, my colleague John Jacob Curia was in Naivasha and filed the following feature story.
Naivasha is home to giant flour companies, a multi-billion shilling subsector that has earned Kenya a global name as one of the best rose-growing and exporting countries. But the sector is now troubled in a disturbed town. The last 3 years have been gloomy following successive shutdowns or scaling down of workers in the flower farms, rendering over 6,000 workers jobless. At the heart of a trouble rocking the flower farms are concerns that tax rates in Kenya are too punitive to flower farmers, forcing some of them to relocate.
These guys use a lot of diesel. It is heavily taxed. These guys use a lot of chemicals. They are heavily taxed. These people also bring in some expatriates. They are heavily taxed. So everything. And the government yet is not even giving a waiver.
Government accused of failing to salvage the situation and give tax incentives among other measures, as well as policy directives that would make investments in floriculture lucrative. The biggest shocker was the shutdown of a Karuturi flower farm back in 2016. Karuturi had started experiencing turbulence in 2013, unable to pay its workers and remitting statutory deductions. Banks such as CFC Stanbic Bank were breathing fire on the managers' necks over a debt that had hit 340 million shillings in 2014. After successive strikes by its workers blocking the management from accessing their offices, a High Court ruling would allow receiver managers to take charge and try to revive the fortunes of a flower farm. Before its fortunes started dwindling, Karuturi was perhaps the biggest flower farm in the world, harvesting 6.5 million flower stems on a daily basis. In March this year, the court granted CFC Stanbic the go-ahead to auction Karuturi's assets over an accumulated debt of 1.8 billion shillings.
Sisi pia wakati walikuwa wanataka kuwa nini receiver managers wakitaka kuchukua hiyo shamba, tulikuwa na uwezo ya kuwapeleka mpaka kotini, tukawaregister as one of the great wenye wako na deni. So pia vile kunaendelea pia tunafanya follow up tujue kama kuna kitu yoyote itatokea. Unlike hii yenye tulikuwa naambiwa kwa wanataka ku-auction. Unajua wakisema maneno ya ku-auction pia sisi we are not for that. Tunajua ki-auction ni yule receiver manager ndiye atapata, receiver managers ndio watapata tu pesa yao.
And so today, the land on which the Karuturi flower farm sits on is bare. The only of its past glory being remnants of polythene papers that used to be greenhouses hanging loosely, left to dance with the wind. Approximately 300 million shillings owed to workers as arrears and about 40 million as remittances to their sacco, sinking alongside with the source of their livelihood.
Kampuni haikutupea anything, dues zote hazikuwa tu kupewa, so bado tunadai kampuni pesa mingi sana, kama 200,000. Mimi kama general worker, nilikuwa general worker like 200,000, na sako pia ilipotea na pesa, so hatuna anything kwenye tunaweza hata kurudi nyumbani imekuwa shida.
Sisi pia tunafuatilia kiwango kuwa tunasema tuhakikishe wafanyikazi pia wako na deni, na sasa kama watafanya hivyo hao nao yao itapatikana namna gani.
And so we seek to put faces to the stories of desperation that have now become all so common in a village dubbed DCK. Naivasha was the epicenter of a 2007-2008 post-election violence, with most of them just beginning to reconstruct their lives when the misfortune of a closure of Karuturi struck. Meet Mzee Musa Njine. 3 years later, the man is ailing, frail and jobless. His plea that his dues be paid so he can seek medical treatment has yielded nothing except frustration. It's an emotional interview that we have to keep disrupting because Mzee Musa is slowly losing his hearing abilities, yet his tears keep pricking his eyes owing to his experiences.
Sasa mimi naomba serikali inisaidie kwa sababu sina uwezo ingine yoyote ninaweza kufanya. Serikali tu baba yetu ajue.
Even government institutions have been frustrating him.
Miaka 10 imekwisha, na vile imekwisha, mimi ninaendanga huko Naivasha kuleta kadi na kadi sipati, na nikakuta kadi kwa meza. hanipatii.
Mzee Musa, now fully dependent on his frail wife, who was also rendered jobless after the shutdown of a Karuturi flower farm. She has to do the back-breaking job of fetching for firewood that can only earn her a paltry 100 shillings a day. The 100 shillings is what caters for food, upkeep, and mzee's medication and routine medical checkups.
Nikikosa saa ingine madaktari wanakuja mpaka hapa kuuliza mama ni nini, msije aenda hospitali. Nikosefu ya pesa. Sina ya kukula, ninahangaika, nilisimamishwa kazi.
Wallowing in abject poverty, robbed of their rights, stripped of dignity, and denied the pleasures of living, their house has a testament of how things are.
Kwa hivyo naomba serikali ingilie katikati, nilipo pesa yangu niende. Kama hakuna bali kama wata nichukua, nikae niende kwangu. Bali nitaenda hata kama niende nitasaidiwa na watu huko mbele. Bata kuhangaikia hapa Naivasha. Sina zamba.
But Mzee Musa's family is not the only family that has to deal with the shame in DCK village. Some have spent over 25 years in the village and are raising children in the same village. Housed by Karuturi, but now facing threats of eviction as banks rush to recover their money.
Hata sisi sasa mimi nikikwambia nitaenda wapi, hakuna mahali nitaenda. Niko hapa. Kuanzia 78 mpaka sasa ni miaka ngapi? Nilikuja kama mimi msichana. Watoto wameoleka hapa.
Tuliwachwa kwa hii manyumba. Tumefanya hapa kazi, mimi nilikuja hapa nikiwa na miaka 21. Saa hii mimi ndio naelekea 44. Hakuna kitu. Uzee imenipata hapa. Ujana iliishia hapa.
CFC and its receivers have employed guards from the ranks of former workers whose sole mandate is to ensure that they never talk to journalists and that nobody films the remaining shell of what Karuturi Flower Farm is. From this crowd standing with us are guards angry with our filming, afraid of confronting us. The former workers are accusing Karuturi Flower Farm managers and the government of neglecting them.
Vile ilifungwa some 3 years ago, tuko tu hapa tunatafuta kazi, wengine wanafanya kazi za jua kali ili tu survive, watoto wapate kitu ya kukula na kwenda shule.
Wakuje watusaidie kwa njia mbili. Kama hakuna pesa ya kutulipa, hii shamba iko na mwenyewe, mwenye alikuwa ametuajiri, atukatie ka 50 by 100 ili tujisaidie na hako ka kitu. Kwa sababu pesa yetu inatosha hiyo 50 by 100.
The shutdown of Karuturi had ripple effects. Small-scale traders in the silent town have borne the brunt as broke customers kept away from their businesses.
Nilifutwa kimadharau lakini nikaachia Mungu. Na wakati kampuni ilikuja ikafungwa, nikawa locked out sasa. Kwa sababu hakuna sasa watu, hakuna watu wa kununua vitu. Ukileta vitu vinakaa hapo mpaka vinaoza unatupa.
With such closures rocking the boat and causing a leak in people's lives, other not so orthodox means of fending for self-creep. This is DCK town in the outskirts of Naivasha town, once a mushrooming urban center, but now a pale shadow of its former self following the closure of the Karuturi flower farms. The sun has already settled down, the rains have come. This means some families have to settle down for the night, but for others, work has just begun. The social ills of a night. Some have resorted to hitting the red streets of Naivasha as they seek to make ends meet. We are alerted of a popular street where most of them flock, and so we wait for darkness and we begin working. We have to film secretly. It's a dangerous job where you have to get the pictures, our subjects unsuspecting. There's an upsurge of crime in Naivasha and the nearby villages such as DCK and Kimere, with locals attributing it to the joblessness occasioned by the shutdowns. The Kenya National Chamber of Commerce Nakuru Chapter Director Kamau Njuguna decries the economic loss that has hit Naivasha with a loss of 6,000 jobs and impending closures by other flower farms.
And we are commanding about 75% of the total wildflowers. And out of that, 65 is coming from Naivasha. You can imagine how much that you're talking about. And it trickles all the way. It's not about job loss. It's not about economy being lost. No. Look at the Kenya Power and Lightning, for example. How much power did they use to consume? Look at the revenue that we're paying to the government. How much revenue was that paying to the government?
Njuguna is hopeful that the government can still salvage the situation and get to the root of the rot in the floriculture subsector.
Look at health, for example. Yeah? Now, as we speak, that place is invaded by a lot of HIV and AIDS victims because there is nobody who is taking care of them. They were just thrown out there on the streets. And what really kills me, coming from the Chamber of Commerce, is the distance of the government with the private sector.
What troubles us, though, is the secret of nature in which flower farm owners operate and the sizable chunk of economy that will be cut off if flower farms such as the prestigious Oserian Farm and others follow the Karuturi path.
The floriculture industry earns Kenya about 550 billion shillings. Over the last 3 years, that fact has been tested with the closure of several flower farms and the relief of workers from duty, about 6,000 of them. But one thing is for sure, the closure of flower farms such as Karuturi has left behind a trail of pain, depression and poverty. And if the government does nothing to salvage the situation, then there are yet another people who are waiting to be condemned to poverty. John Jacob Curia, Channel 1 News.
Je, waweza fanya nini kwa dakika 4? Na mega dola. Unaweza piga chef? Na mega dola. Kila kitu ni mega. Waweza pika ugali? Na mega dola. Pesa hapa ni mega. Na mega. Labda waweza fua nguo? Ni mega. Na mega dola. Ama unaweza tengeneza milioni 30. 4 minutes are enough to win big with Mega Dollar. Just go to Lipa na M-Pesa, select Pay Bill, enter business number 295888, enter account name KBC, deposit 10 shillings or more, enter your PIN and press OK, then choose 10 numbers from 1 to 80 and send to 29588. And you can win up to 30 million shillings every 4 minutes. Deposit, play and win with Mega Dollar. The big game for big winners.
Some they pay no mind, but now the note is blue. So take your ones, your 50s, put your 100s to your shoes. And to my friend, you know I love you.